Welcome to the Timeline Rewatch, where we cover all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, TV shows, one-shots, shorts, all of it, in chronological order each week. This week is The Incredible Hulk, released on June 13th, 2008. The timeline of this movie is 2011, and as we mentioned last week, is during the Iron Man 2-ish timeline.
Yeah.
This was directed by Louis Leterrier. That was probably
It's French.
brutally murdered there, but just like the Hulk in this movie. So, Jacob, as always, you're here to talk more about this incredible 1990s movie that was actually shot in 2008.
Yeah.
So,
by far not my favorite. If you can't tell by now.
it's not the worst movie in the series, but it's pretty bad.
Yeah. It's something. So my synopsis is Green Man learns to breathe, because I feel like that's 90% of the movie. And I sometimes watch this anytime they talk about breathing. The song Just Breathe by Kelly Clarkson comes into my head. So it's really hard to take this seriously when he's like learning to breathe, and like, I don't know, it feels like he's like trying to give labor, doing labor breathing exercises or something.
Yeah. So the intro of this movie does I kind of like the intro. It was long.
See, I didn't
to an
like
extent.
It, but yeah.
But it was like, all right, here's how the Hulk was made. We all know the story of the Hulk
Right.
and how he became the Hulk. Here you go. Let's get into the action. So it didn't have to be an origin story. It was the origin story was already out there.
I get that. And it's fine if you know the story, but like if you're trying to draw in an audience that doesn't know the story, that did nothing for me. Because it's like just opening credits and like stuff flashing across the screen.
2004 or something like that. The Hulk movie came out as well, not
MCU.
Where they actually did an origin story of the Hulk. I think that was before Iron Man even.
Yeah.
As pre-MCU. So I remember actually seeing that one in the theaters. So the movie starts in Brazil. This movie just looks to be so much older than it actually is, and it was literally made right after Iron Man 2.
And what's funny is during the opening, like, because again, if you're watching this with no context, you're like, wow, this is an older movie. But then we're talking about it's the same time as Iron Man 2 and Thor, in that kind of time range. And in the opening credits, they reference Nick Fury, and there's a reference to Stark Industries on the stuff that comes across the screen. Mm-hmm. So right there, it tells you, no, this is during that time frame, but it looks drastically different.
So much different. So we do learn that he's learned to control his anger by controlling his body and his breathing. Mm-hmm. He goes to different people to learn how to meditate better. And in this movie, it kind of states that he turns into the Hulk when his heart rate goes up.
Well, not even goes up. It hits a specific number.
It's a very, very specific number that we will talk about.
Yeah.
Almost like as if it was the DeLorean going back into time.
Yep.
So that was okay.
Which, to jump ahead, in the other movies, it's because he gets angry. And he knows, like, anger is what brings out the Hulk. In this movie, they're setting it up to, like, his heart rate brings up in the Hulk. And you see that in different phases, that it's not just anger. But like you said, we'll get to that in a minute. So...
So he has this conversation with a character named Mr. Blue through a VPN chat on his computer that they're trying to figure out this cure for him. And that's why he's in Brazil hiding and trying not to be out there right now. So they're connected to a VPN that connects very quickly and is having this encrypted chat with a strange individual, which honestly I thought was Dr. Ross the entire time. Not General Ross the entire time.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, unfortunately. That'd have been so much cooler in my opinion.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about the general technology. And we can cover the entire movie with our technology. Yeah. Let's just get our IT brains out of the way right now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about technology in this movie. The VPN was killing me. Like, it just connected like that. Like, it was very, very quickly.
And you're in Brazil that has little infrastructure like that. Like, little network infrastructure. Like, you're living in the slums and the favelas of Brazil. But yet, your internet connection is like, boom. There you go.
Ready to go.
Yeah.
The laptop was a brick.
Oh, yeah.
Literally a freaking brick.
Yep. And didn't he have an
And
antenna that he pulled out,
I
like an
think
old
so.
like wire antenna?
So this bothers me so much because in 2011 I was in college, and that's when the movie is supposed to take place. Is in 2011. I get that it was filmed in 2008, but even in 2008 you had slimmer laptops. They weren't slim, but they were slimmer.
Yeah.
This was a brick. This was like straight up
Oh, yeah.
1990s brick laptop. What else? I saw later when they're in Mr. Blue's lab that Mr. Blue's using like old CRT monitors with the beveled screens. I'm like, come on, man. Like,
They even had that at the university.
yeah. So it's all over the old tech. There was a digital camera in here, which I get. Those are making a comeback now. And those are probably right there at the end of that. I didn't know anybody that was using a digital camera in college.
Yeah.
But they had cell phones that recorded videos.
Yes. And all of Tony Stark's technology was still there, because this is post Iron Man 1, for that matter.
Yes.
So all of that technology is known.
And if we're talking in the sense of being at the same time as Iron Man 2, Tony has a phone that can cast to TVs by hacking into them. So it's a clear phone. So I don't get it. This movie, I don't know what they did here.
And when he's at the university, he breaks into Elizabeth's account, and her username is Dr. Space Elizabeth Space Ross. I was like, okay, that's not how usernames work. And her password was 4 characters. And I was like, okay, at a scientific university doing research for the military, your username is that, and it's protected by a 4-character password.
Well, that's just bad IT.
Yeah, but like,
I mean, think about it. Like, what IT department is allowing a 4-character password?
Right. And I think it was like Culver University, like, or something like
which
that.
Is a real university.
Yeah, which is a real university, like.
So
military.
Culver University, get your stuff together, man. You got to get better IT, because that was bad.
Yeah, that was a bad look.
Yeah, very bad. So,
also at the university, that computer just happened to have the same VPN remote connection he used, and it just booted up and had their chat like ready to go. And I was like, that's not how any of that works.
Dude,
but okay,
you have to install software. You have to install. You got to.
He would, and
at
that computer, I mean, he would have been waiting probably an hour for all of that to load and to install. So yeah, that.
But ready to go.
Yeah.
Maybe it was like WhatsApp of 2011. Like they already knew. Like you just had to log into it or something.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we do learn that he's working at a bottle factory company, just kind of fixing their equipment. They want to put him on salary, but he was like, no, don't do that. Because mostly I think he wanted to, he didn't want to be put on salary because they actually had to pay him not under the table. Because I think they were paying him under the table, which if they were actually paying him, then.
But it's Brazil. Like.
Well, I mean, you never know.
I mean, maybe
he wasn't an actual citizen.
Well, right. I'm sure he wasn't.
And he didn't want the government to know where he was.
I don't know. Again, it's Brazil in a favela. I don't think that government, I don't think is real.
But the U.S.
keen on
government.
Those kind of things. Yeah, but.
They would have found him.
I don't know. They found him anyways, so.
Yeah, that's true. So they end up, the government does end up finding him where his location is. And this is where we are going to do an early Where's Stan Lee?
Yep. He drinks the contaminated soda.
Yeah. So when I was watching, I was like, there's no way Stan Lee becomes the Abomination, right? No, this was not the Abomination.
Nope.
I was about to say this is really cool, but yeah, so he drinks the contaminated soda and has like a freak out. So the U.S. government immediately finds, oh, he's in Brazil. So they go to Brazil, they find him, they chase him through the streets. He's jumping all over the roofs, which was kind of cool. I thought it was like a foreshadow to the end of the movie where he jumps roof to roof to get away from everybody.
Yeah.
Something that didn't sit quite right with me. They ended up back at the bottling factory. Of course they did.
Yeah, of course.
Because why not?
Well, and while he's trying to run away from the special forces, he runs into the gang that was causing him beef at the beginning of the movie, and then of course
from the bottling factory,
they're the ones that chase him into the bottling factory.
Yeah.
Big
old city. We all end up in the same bottling factory.
Of course.
Which I thought was funny because the owner kept saying like, I can't afford to go like to improve this or go somewhere better. Well, now he probably can with the insurance.
Well, I'd hope so. Yeah.
So, because he kind of has to. So they tried to use guns and tranquilizers on the Hulk. None of those work, but they kept shooting at him anyway, like it was gonna work.
Yeah.
They tried a grenade, didn't work. Why did they keep fighting? Why didn't they just leave
Yeah.
and wait for him to like calm down? That didn't make sense to me.
And the whole time, Ross knows what he is, who he is, and what he does. Like, you think you would just have better strategy. Like, now I get it. Ross tried to get him when he was Bruce. That's fine, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But once he becomes the Hulk, then Ross needs to take a look and be like, all right, we're going to let him go, but we're going to follow him from above. And we know that he's going to come back to Bruce at some point. Like, and you just, again, like you said, you just follow him, and when that happens, then you pick him up.
Yeah.
But apparently that simple of an idea just escapes the General Ross and his forces, because they make a lot of questionable tactical decisions in this movie. That's just the first of one.
Yeah. So I was thinking about this during the movie, and like General Ross never comes back up like after this movie, but then I realized that he becomes Secretary Ross.
Yeah.
Later, different character, different actor, I think, though, right?
I think so, yes.
He's probably definitely going to be a different actor in the Thunderbolts.
Supposedly it's Harrison Ford.
So,
Maybe.
let's talk about some auto resizing pants for the Hulk. So he was wearing
Yes.
pants, and then he became the Hulk, and he was wearing pants that were magically much larger. And then he becomes back to Bruce Banner, and now he has pants that fit him again.
Did they fit him when he was in Guatemala? Or did they? I know at one point he doesn't have clothes that fits him. I think no, that's after he's with Elizabeth when he turns back. Then his clothes don't fit him because they have to go to a store and get him clothes. So yeah, but yeah, the fact that his pants, although they stretch and they rip, still fit him as the Hulk. They just turn into shorts.
Yeah.
That didn't really make sense.
That whole thing never makes sense to me, even with the new Hulk.
It's because you can't have nudity, so you have to cover up his bits.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I did like that when they went to the store to go find new pants, that she was trying to give him purple joggers, which would have been the purple pants for the Hulk
from the comic.
And he was just like,
yeah,
no, this is stupid.
Yep.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
They do run into Lou Ferrigno, who is a security guard, and Banner says that you're the man. Lou Ferrigno was the original Hulk in the movies, so
yep,
thought that was cool. Let's see.
Oh, it did. I thought this was funny to know. It took him 17 days to get from Guatemala to the university.
Basically
with no
walking.
money. Yeah, with no money, like hitchhiking. Took him 17 days.
How did he get into the U.S.?
By boat?
Through Mexico.
I don't know.
I guess by boat.
By boat, by Mexico. But then he made it. So let's say he went Guatemala up to Mexico and then over to Virginia. Still in like a little over 2 weeks. Like, I don't know. That didn't make sense to me when I added up the dates, because they had like dates of when he went, and I was like, that didn't. A little over 2 weeks to get from Guatemala to Virginia hitchhiking. I don't get it. Maybe he went in through Florida. Maybe he took a boat to like Cuba and then to Cuba to Florida. I don't know.
He was Banner was trying to hack into Dr. Ross's computer, which we all learned that should have been really easy. You just
succeeded.
Guess a 4-character password. And somebody else is there looking at him. The person that was looking at him is actually the same actor as the teacher in Spider-Man.
Very interesting.
So there was a point where I think in Spider-Man he talks about like how he's seen a lot of things in the past before, and maybe he was talking about the Hulk because he was at the same university.
Very well could be.
So we learned that General Ross wants to extract the gene out of Bruce to use it as a weapon, similar to like a super soldier, but like even larger super soldier. And instead they take the captain,
Emil
Blonksy, and injects him with super serum from Captain America.
Yeah,
and makes another super soldier.
And it works.
And
for its purpose.
For all intents and purposes, yeah, it did work.
Although he gets wrecked, so
yeah.
So he doesn't have like the healing that Captain America has, because
yeah,
he just got wrecked by the Hulk.
That's true.
That's the one piece that did not make sense to me. Like, He got all
but he
this
healed
super
really fast though.
once he got into the hospital, but
Yeah.
like,
But
got
like he was in the
wrecked.
hospital for like a day, if that.
Yeah, that's true.
And he like healed very quickly.
But I don't know. It like never takes Captain America that long to like, and I'm
No.
sure Captain America, he hasn't fought the Hulk, but he's had like that kind of attack.
Oh, yeah,
I don't
'cause
know.
He wasn't in Civil War, was he?
No,
Nope.
he abstained from.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh, I did want to note, as they're fighting at the university, as Bruce Banner gets stuck in that skywalk, you kind of see this storm start to roll in from the back, and you're like, okay, this is where the storm is like signifying that like the Hulk's gonna come out, and that they have this battle. But then I also thought it was interesting towards the end of the battle, the Hulk saves Elizabeth Ross and like picks her up, runs away with her. Big King Kong vibes, which is also what Universal Studios does. So I thought that was very, very interesting. But and it kind of it starts to humanize the Hulk a little bit, but it also introduces something else that has always thrown me off. It's like, what is the Hulk? Is he Bruce Banner? Is he another person? Is he another personality? Is he something?
Mm-hmm.
And he gets scared of the thunderstorm when they're in the cave. And it's like, okay, is he like a little kid? Like, is when he was brought out through all this testing and stuff, is that like, okay, he was born, so he's a child. But then, like, you see when Emil becomes Abomination, he doesn't have that. Like, that he has a presence, he's laughing, he's, like, he understands what's going on. But then, like, the Hulk's also intelligent enough to use police cars as boxing gloves and uses a clap to put out the fire. Like, I don't know. That still feels rather unresolved to me. Even after Avengers, I think you're still trying to figure out who the Hulk is.
Yeah, that's. I think the Hulk is trying to figure out who the Hulk is.
Yeah.
And there's multiple stages of the Hulk, because you got the Dr. Hulk, you got all sorts of Hulks. I mean, or what is it? Not Dr. Hulk, but yeah,
kind of now
the smart Professor Hulk. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, because now Bruce is like like caught up to where we are now in the MCU. Bruce has kind of find a way to coexist.
He's Professor Hulk now.
Yeah.
So there's multiple stages of the Hulk. This is like angry Hulk at this point, because he seems scarier in this one than Mark Ruffalo's the
1,000%.
So, which my wife likes better.
They did a really nice job playing into that too, like with all the dark scenes revolving the Hulk. Like, you never get to see the Hulk in full light. And it just keeps up this mystique that he's this scary monster.
Yeah. So Betty and Bruce end up meeting Mr. Blue in New York City, where Mr. Blue finally gets to meet him. Didn't think he was ever going to get to meet him. He wants more blood. Well, it turns out he reproduced his blood.
Yeah.
All over the place. And Bruce is like, you got to get rid of all of this right now. And he wants to use it for science to cure like diseases and cancer and all the things, which is very noble, but I don't think he realizes what it could actually end up doing.
Well, and was that really his goal? Because after he injects the Abomination with that stuff and he like gets knocked out of the way, hits his head, and then the serum falls into his cut, he starts like smiling, knowing that he's getting some of that power. Supposedly, he's supposed to become the leader, the green leader guy that's got like a really big head. So
the green leader guy.
Yeah, his name is the leader, but he's like a villain and becomes like a super, like the Hulk serum, since it fell in his head, morphs his brain and makes him like super intelligent. But he's called the leader. It's just his name.
Leader.
The leader. Yep. I doubt he'll ever be brought back in to the MCU. But
I mean, they pretty much cut
that's where
every
it could go.
tie out of this movie other than the Hulk.
Well, and Abomination now and She-Hulk, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, so the military ends up getting to Mr. Blue's lab, where Blonsky basically forces him to inject him with the Hulk serum, the Hulk blood, and becomes the Abomination. Just absolutely disgusting looking. They're flying. Dr. Ross, General Ross, military, and Bruce are flying away in a helicopter. Not that they finally caught him, and then the military is like, "Oh, he's out, and they're like, "I'm literally looking at Bruce right now."
Mm-hmm.
It turns out, no, it's the Abomination who's trying to destroy New York City now.
Yep.
So they have to let the Hulk out. I thought it was interesting because he just jumps out of the helicopter, and he's just like, "Yeah, I'll turn into the Hulk." Crashes into the ground, did not turn into the Hulk at all, and then gets up and it's the Hulk.
Yeah. So that brings me to the point I brought up earlier. Like these different, it's not just anger that brings the Hulk out. Like at the beginning, I think in the bottling factory, it was exertion and or fear, and that's what raised his heart rate and brought him out. And then there's a moment where him and Elizabeth are reconnecting and doing some stuff, and his heart rate gets up. He's like, "Oh, we can't do this." So it's like that's not out of anger, obviously. That's out of passion. And then now you see him falling out of the helicopter, which we assume he thought he was going to turn into the Hulk because of fear. Again, you're falling out of a helicopter with no chute, and then he doesn't. So like this movie set it up to be it's controlled by his heart rate. Like we mentioned, he hits the 200 beats per minute. Boom, he's, the Hulk. Where in all the other movies, it's anger. So yeah, maybe that's an easier story to tell, but
yeah, it's a little confusing on what it actually does. I'm glad they kind of like, well, I guess they didn't even really explain it even further after this either,
right?
Because Bruce is always just like, I'm always angry,
right? But that doesn't. So does that mean you're always the Hulk? Like, no,
he becomes
still
the Hulk
control
whenever
it.
he wants to until Endgame, and he's like, I want to become the Hulk, and the Hulk's like, no.
Yeah. So then again, is it a different person? Like, if it's just his heart rate, then all Bruce had to do was get his heart rate up, and then the Hulk would come out. I think what people are going to say is that at this point, Bruce didn't know enough about the Hulk to really know when he came out. The only connection he made was that when he got over a certain, beats per minute, or his heart rate got to a certain level, then maybe that's how, once he does more research and more discovering with the Hulk, he realizes it's anger. I don't know. That's a cop-out in my opinion, but...
Can we talk about the helicopter crash?
Yes, we can.
So the helicopter crashes because of the Abomination, and it looks like all the military personnel on the helicopter are dead.
Everybody else, yeah.
Except for General Ross and Betty Ross, who have like a couple scrapes on their head, and they just walk away.
Mm-hmm.
What? You don't even have armor on.
Yeah.
Like, huh?
All the other guys are in full military tactical gear, and they all died.
At least it looks like they're dead. They could have just been incapacitated, but
yeah,
really, that was strange to me.
Yeah.
So they fight. The Hulk uses the Hulk clap to put out the fire at the helicopter because it's about to explode, and they end up fighting there. The Hulk was literally about to kill the Abomination, where Betty's like, "No, don't do it. Just do it."
Yeah.
Why didn't you do it? I don't understand.
Well, yeah, and that's another thing. Like, what is the Hulk? What does he know? Is he a scared little kid, or is he like has some intelligence? And that
annoying. That's what
it's an enigma, honestly, because I don't think it's a great idea in concept, but like once you start drilling down into it, I'm still confused about what the Hulk is, especially after Ragnarok. I was super confused about who the Hulk was because I'm like, where the hell was Bruce the entire time? Was he trapped inside of the Hulk? So it's like, yeah, I don't know. It was confusing, and
why were there random civilians in a police line like right next to the action in the middle of a destroyed building?
If anything, we know NYPD does their best, but it's not great.
They're literally the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I get it. I mean, to an extent, I guess you were just dealing with the Iron Man Expo.
I was gonna say,
the Stark Expo.
You're reeling off of the Stark Expo attack from Iron Man 2.
From the Queens, and now you're battling this out in Hell's Kitchen.
Mm-hmm. Where's Daredevil?
I was literally just thinking the same thing. Where was Daredevil at this point?
I'll have to figure out how he fits into the timeline and see what he was at that.
I think they're gonna bring that Daredevil into the timeline.
Well, and
he got casted.
He was for sure like of age. Like he was for sure Daredevil when this movie was out, or like in the time that this movie was set in. I'm confident he was Daredevil.
We'll have to go back and look at that.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like where was Spider-Man for some of these things, but Spider-Man is also like 15.
Peter Parker was in Iron Man 2 as the child, so
yeah, that's fair.
I'm just living with that now. So, yeah, no, I don't know. This movie, obviously not my favorite. The fight scene wasn't bad. I thought the fight scene was pretty cool, and the way that they kept it still dark and like mysterious and stuff like that. I thought they did a really nice job. But yeah.
So Bruce ends up hiding in the British Columbia from Betty and everyone in civilization, where he then goes to work on controlling his heart rate. It looked like he controlled it for about a month, and then he turned into the Hulk for some reason.
For no reason.
I don't know if it was for testing or what, but he becomes the Hulk again. Late in another movie, he tells Natasha that he's been working on controlling himself and controlling his Hulk.
I'm trying to think, where did they find him in Avengers? Because he's moved around since then.
Yeah, I thought he was in like the Philippines, but
I was gonna say I thought it was South America,
like India-ish.
Oh, India-ish. I thought it was
Philippines
South America.
would be in Asia.
Right. I thought he went back to South America.
Maybe South America.
Maybe.
We'll find out in a couple weeks.
I don't know, but it's that's a piece that gets left out too. Like, why the Hulk just randomly travels? Like again, went from Brazil to Guatemala, and then as Bruce he goes to Virginia, and then from Hulk from New York he ends up in
British Columbia.
I guess that jump kind of makes more sense. But
yeah. So there was no post-credit scene, but there was kind of like a post-ish type of scene. Yeah. Tony comes in to General Ross's bar, the bar that General Ross likes, and basically this leads right into the consultant too, because this is so we'll talk about both here. The consultant one shot, which I have notes on, was released September 13th, 2011. So 3 years after this movie was made. The timeline is now. So this has the secret Hydra agent and Coulson talking about who they want to bring into the
Avengers.
The Avengers or S.H.I.E.L.D. wants to bring in the Abomination. Coulson and the Hydra dude don't want him to be in the Avengers Initiative. They would prefer to have the Hulk. So they're trying to figure out how to get General Ross to basically say, no, the Abomination's not going to be in the Avengers Initiative. And they're talking about how, we need to send somebody that General Ross is going to absolutely hate. And they send in Tony Stark.
Yeah. And it's funny because they're describing this guy like who's like so annoying and so like just not personable. And it's Tony Stark.
They bring that in, which is interesting because you kind of, to be able to understand the consultant, you have to have watched The Incredible Hulk.
Yes.
And the end of The Incredible Hulk makes way more sense with the consultant.
Yeah.
So very interesting, especially since this came out 3 years after the fact.
Yeah, because when I first watched the Hulk without having watched the consultant, I was like, why is Tony Stark coming to talk to Ross?
I thought the same thing.
Because they never bring up Abomination, they never bring up the Hulk, and it's just about like Tony telling Ross what all he did wrong. He says
he's trying to put together a team.
Yeah,
that's it. He talks about we're trying to put together a team, which they talk about at the end of Iron Man 2 about being the consultant. Turns out he ends up becoming it like a week later.
Yeah. What I think is interesting is, like we talked about, they're teasing this Thunderbolts thing that's coming up. I wonder if that post-credits, or not really post-credit scene, but the consultant scene is what like sparks some of this Thunderbolts idea of like having a secondary non-Avengers team.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Potentially. All right. Anything else on this god-awful movie?
No, you can tell it was adopted into the MCU. It wasn't really made in this frame of reference because it's just so different than everything
And they had
else.
to bring the Hulk in because the Hulk is one of the more known Marvel characters. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap this episode up. Stay tuned for next week where we will cover Thor, the original Thor. And if you do not follow us on social media yet, please do at Timeline Rewatch on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also catch us on YouTube, following us at Timeline Rewatch, where you can also see all of our video podcasts. And if you have not told a friend about about these episodes, please do, especially if they like the Marvel Universe. And until next week, guys, see you later.